The Discovery. Captain Alina Reyes stood on the bridge of the United Earth ship Pathfinder, gazing through the viewport at the swirling purple nebula that dominated the starscape. After 6 months of deep space exploration, her crew had mapped dozens of uncharted systems in this sector. Today's mission was supposed to be routine: survey the abandoned moon base they detected yesterday, collect samples, and move on. Approaching orbital insertion, Captain, announced Lieutenant Park from the helm. Moon's gravity is within expected parameters, but I'm detecting unusual energy fluctuations from the northern hemisphere. Elena leaned forward, her dark eyes narrowing. Artifact signatures. Possibly. Science Officer Ibarra looked up from her console, excitement evident in her voice. The readings match nothing in our database, but they're definitely artificial and extremely old, possibly predating human spaceflight by millennia. Well then, Elena said, a smile spreading across her face. I believe we found something interesting. Prep the shuttle. Standard first contact protocol. I'll leave the ground team. 2 hours later, Elena stood in a vast underground chamber, staring at a perfectly smooth black obelisk that towered 30 meters high. The structure hummed with energy despite showing no obvious power source. Strange symbols glowed with a soft blue light along its surface. Incredible, whispered Dr. Chen, the team's xenorchaeologist. This material doesn't match anything in our records, and look at these symbols. They appear to be a form of mathematical language. Elena approached the obelisk carefully. Can you translate any of it? I'm running it through our linguistic algorithms now. But Chen's words were cut short as Elena's hand brushed against the surface of the obelisk. The chamber filled with blinding light. When Elena's vision cleared, a holographic figure stood before them. Tall, slender, with 4 arms and iridescent skin that shifted colors like oil on water. Greetings, humans, the figure spoke, its voice somehow translating directly into their minds. This beacon has awaited activation for 12,000 of your years. Your presence has been noted, and the Galactic Council has been alerted to your arrival in this sector. Galactic Council. Elena stepped forward. We come in peace. I'm Captain Alina Reyes of the United Earth ship Pathfinder. The hologram tilted its head. Identity confirmed. Humans have been absent from council affairs for many cycles. Your return is unexpected. Before Elena could respond, the chamber shook. Above them, the shuttle's pilot called through the comm. Captain, a ship just dropped out of FTL in orbit. It's massive, at least 20 times our size. We need to get back to the Pathfinder, Elena ordered. As they rushed toward the exit, the hologram spoke one last time. The council representatives approach. Prepare yourselves, humans. Much has changed since your kind was last among the stars. 30 minutes later, the Pathfinder found itself escorted by a massive vessel of alien design. It dwarfed their explorer ship, its hull gleaming with what looked like living metal that pulsed with internal light. They're hailing us, Captain, Communications Officer Diaz reported. On screen. The view screen filled with the image of a being similar to the hologram, but with deeper blue skin and elaborate ceremonial armor. I am High Counselor Xerix of the Galactic Assembly. Humans of Earth, your activation of the ancient beacon is concerning. Your species has not been permitted in this sector for over 10 millennia. Elena straightened her uniform. High Counselor, we had no knowledge of any restrictions on our exploration. Earth has only achieved interstellar travel in the last century. The alien's color shifted to a surprised yellow. Fascinating. You do not remember. It paused, 4 hands moving in complex patterns. Captain Rice, you and your senior officers are invited aboard the council vessel Eternal Vigilance for consultation. This matter requires immediate attention. 2 hours later, Elena and her 5 senior officers sat in a vast circular chamber aboard the alien ship. Representatives of a dozen different species occupied tiered seating around them, murmuring in various languages that their translators struggled to process. High Counselor Xerix raised all 4 hands, and silence fell. The human delegation will now be informed of their historical status within galactic society. A holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber, showing Earth as it was thousands of years ago. Humans were once known throughout the galaxy, Xerix explained. Not as explorers, but as warriors. Your species was discovered approximately 15,000 years ago by the Mithran Collective. They found primitive humans fascinating and uplifted certain groups for study. The results were catastrophic. The hologram shifted to show ancient humans in strange armor, wielding energy weapons against various alien species. The uplifted humans escaped Mithran control and became mercenaries. Your adaptability, creativity, and most troubling, your unique aptitude for warfare made you highly sought after by various factions. Human mercenaries turned minor conflicts into full-scale wars. Your tactics were unpredictable, brutal, and shockingly effective against species with millennia of mathematical warfare doctrine. Elena exchanged glances with her officers, seeing the same disbelief on their faces that she felt. After the Seventh Galactic War, in which 3 civilizations were driven to extinction, the Council passed the Human Containment Edict. All uplifted humans were either returned to Earth with their memories erased or placed in stasis if they refused. Earth was quarantined, its system hidden by gravitational distortion technology. Humanity would be allowed to develop naturally, but never again permitted to engage in galactic warfare. That's preposterous, Commander Jackson, Elena's XO, interjected. You're saying humans, primitive humans with stone tools, were taken from Earth, turned into super soldiers, fought in galactic wars, and then we were all sent home and made to forget. That's the truth, a new voice interrupted. A small, reptilian alien had entered the chamber. Unlike the others, it wore what Elena recognized as tactical armor. I am General Krell of the Vanguard Forces. The human speaks exactly as her ancestors did, with disbelief and defiance, even when confronted with historical fact. We have archaeological records dating back thousands of years, Elena argued. There's no evidence of what you're describing. Because that was part of the agreement, Xerix explained. All technology was removed. The returned humans were placed in regions where their stories of gods and magic weapons would be dismissed as mythology within a few generations. Before anyone could respond, alarms blared throughout the chamber. The holographic display shifted to show multiple ships appearing at the edge of the system. Vedic vessels, General Krell hissed. 20 warships approaching fast. The Vedic Imperium has violated the neutral zone, Xerix announced, his skin paling to white. This council session is suspended. All representatives evacuate to safe locations immediately. Chaos erupted as aliens rushed toward various exits. Elena gathered her officers. We need to get back to the Pathfinder. I'm afraid that's impossible, General Krell said, blocking their path. Your ship has been secured in our docking bay. The Vedic would destroy it instantly. They have always opposed repealing the Human Containment Edict. An explosion rocked the massive council ship, sending everyone staggering. They've breached our outer defenses, an aide reported. Boarding parties detected in sectors 7 through 12. We have 30,000 civilians aboard. Xerix protested. The Vedic cannot attack a council vessel during formal proceedings. Yet they are, Krell replied grimly, and our security forces are outnumbered. The Vedic have been planning this for some time. Elena stepped forward. Give us weapons. We can help. The room fell silent. Xerix's skin shifted to a deep purple of shock. Absolutely not. The edict specifically forbids humans from engaging in combat in council space. With respect, Counselor, Elena said firmly, your ship is under attack. There are civilians at risk. My crew is trained for combat scenarios. We can assist your security forces. The human speaks truly, Krell said, surprising everyone. I have studied the ancient records. In close-quarters combat, humans were unmatched. Even now, with no genetic enhancements or advanced weaponry, they might make the difference. Another explosion, closer this time. The decision was made for them as 4 armored Vedek soldiers burst through the chamber's main doors, firing energy weapons indiscriminately. Alina reacted instinctively. She flipped the massive council table for cover, pulling Xerix down behind it as energy bolts scorched the air above them. Her crew followed suit, protecting the other council members. "Weapons cabinet, northeast corner," Krell shouted, diving behind a pillar as he returned fire. Commander Jackson sprinted across the open space, dodging energy bolts with remarkable agility. He reached the cabinet, smashed its lock with a nearby ceremonial staff, and began distributing weapons to Alina and the crew. The alien weapons were unfamiliar, but the basics of combat never change. Alina quickly identified the firing mechanism, took aim, and dropped the first Vedek soldier with a precision shot. Beside her, Lieutenant Park and Dr. Chen had created a crossfire position, methodically taking down the remaining attackers. Engineer Rodriguez had somehow already disassembled one of the alien weapons and reconfigured it to emit a wider energy burst, effectively creating a shotgun that cleared the doorway. Within minutes, the Vedek soldiers lay dead or incapacitated. The council representatives stared at Alina and her crew in shock. "Pathfinder crew, secure the doorway," Alina ordered. "General Krell, what's the quickest route to your security command center? We need to coordinate with your forces." Krell seemed momentarily stunned, then let out a sound that might have been laughter. 10,000 years, and nothing has changed. This is why humans were banned from warfare. Not because you were evil, but because you were too good at it. Over the next hour, Alina and her crew worked alongside Krell's security forces to push back the Vedek boarding parties. The humans' unconventional tactics and adaptability repeatedly turned the tide in narrow corridors and junction points that the mathematically precise Vedek had calculated as advantageous. When the final Vedek soldier surrendered, Alina found herself in the ship's command center alongside High Counselor Xerix, who had watched the security feeds with increasing astonishment. "Captain Reyes," Xerix said, his skin now a contemplative green-blue, "your actions today have saved countless lives, but they have also confirmed everything our ancestors feared about humanity." Alina holstered her borrowed weapon. "With respect, Counselor, if humans are as dangerous as you claim, shouldn't you be grateful we're on your side this time?" Xerix's 4 hands performed an intricate gesture that the translator couldn't interpret. "Perhaps, but this incident will force the Council to reconsider many long-held policies. The Vedek attacked today because our sensors detected human genetic signatures in this sector, the first in 10 millennia. They believe the human containment edict must be maintained at all costs." "And what do you believe?" Alina asked. "I believe," Xerix said slowly, "that the galaxy is changing. Ancient powers are stirring. The Vedek are merely the first to move openly against the Council. In such times, perhaps the old rules must be reconsidered." As Alina looked around at her exhausted but proud crew, she knew their mission of exploration had just become something much more complicated. Humanity had apparently been banned from the battlefield for a reason. And now, for better or worse, the galaxy was remembering why. The remembering. Humans adapt too quickly. They improvise instead of following doctrine. They see patterns where none exist and exploit weaknesses no simulation could predict. Alina listened as the council members debated her crew's fate from behind the energy barrier of their detention cell. 8 hours had passed since they'd helped repel the Vedek boarding party, and gratitude had quickly given way to fear once the immediate danger passed. "You witnessed their effectiveness yourself, Counselor Traz," General Krell argued. 6 untrained humans, using unfamiliar weapons, outperformed veteran security teams. That is precisely the problem. The insectoid counselor's mandibles clicked agitatedly. The ancient records were not exaggerated. Humans are natural warriors, too dangerous to be allowed free access to galactic society. High Counselor Xerix raised all 4 hands for silence. What Captain Reyes and her crew did was both a violation of the edict and a service to this council. While we deliberate, I believe we owe them an explanation." He approached the barrier separating them. "Captain, would you and your crew care to see why your species was considered so dangerous?" The barrier disappeared, and Alina's team was escorted to a secure archival chamber deep within the council vessel. There, Xerix activated a memory crystal, a device that projected not just images but sensations and partial thoughts directly into their minds. The memories hit Alina like a physical blow. A human woman stands on a battlefield, her body enhanced with cybernetic implants. Around her, thousands of mathematically perfect battle formations break against her chaotic squad of 30 human mercenaries. When conventional tactics fail, she orders her troops to target non-critical infrastructure instead of enemy combatants. Power systems fail. Communication networks collapse. The enemy, unable to receive new tactical algorithms, falls into disarray. A human man infiltrates an enemy fortress not by force, but by understanding the psychology of his opponents. He doesn't hack their security systems. He manipulates the operators into making mistakes, exploiting cultural taboos and social hierarchies in ways the highly logical defenders never anticipated. 3 humans, vastly outnumbered, win a space battle by accelerating debris into an asteroid field, creating a cascading collision effect that their enemies' prediction systems failed to calculate until too late. When the memories faded, Alina found herself on her knees, gasping. The others were in similar states, overwhelmed by the intensity of the shared experience. "These are but fragments," Xerix explained, "records salvaged from the 7th Galactic War. Your ancestors were taken from Earth as curiosities, but became the most feared mercenaries in the galaxy, not because you were stronger or more technologically advanced, but because you think differently. Human unpredictability, creativity, and adaptability made conventional warfare impossible." Commander Jackson helped Alina to her feet. "Those weren't just random humans in the memories," he said. "Those were our ancestors, weren't they? You didn't choose random memories to show us." Xerix's skin rippled with reluctant acknowledgement. "Correct. Genetic tracing confirmed it when you came aboard." The woman was Commander Ilana Reyes, the captain's direct ancestor. The infiltration specialist was Thomas Jackson. The tactical officer was Min Jun Park. Your genetic lineages were specifically monitored over the millennia. "You've been watching us," Alina realized, "all this time." From a distance, the containment was never intended to be permanent, merely until humanity matured enough to rejoin galactic society safely. Xerix gestured to a window showing the stars beyond. That time may have arrived sooner than expected. The ship shuddered violently. Alarms blared. General Krell burst into the chamber. "Counselor, we've received a priority distress call from the Arcturan colony. It's under attack. And not by the Vedic. The Scourge." Xerix's skin paled to an ashen gray. "Yes, 3 high ships. The defense fleet has already fallen." Alina didn't recognize the term, but she felt the fear radiating from the aliens. "What are the Scourge?" Krell and Xerix exchanged glances before the general answered. "A sentient collective organism that consumes all in its path. They emerge from deep space every few thousand years. The last incursion was before the human containment." "Why attack now?" Dr. Chen asked. "The Vedic attack was not random," Xerix said grimly. "They did not come to enforce the edict. They came to prevent us from finding humans. The Vedic have been infiltrated by Scourge sympathizers. They know what the histories tell, that in the ancient wars, only human mercenaries ever defeated a Scourge high ship. The implications hung heavy in the air." "Take us to your command center," Alina said firmly. "Captain," Commander Jackson began. "They need our help, Commander. And I'm not about to let a colony be destroyed because of some ancient rules." In the command center, the situation became clearer and more dire. Tactical displays showed the Arcturan colony in flames. The Scourge ships, massive organic-looking structures, methodically demolished defense platforms while smaller craft landed troops on the surface. Conventional weapons barely damaged their biomechanical armor, Krell explained, and their attack patterns adapt to any defense algorithm within minutes. Elena studied the tactical display. You're fighting them wrong. You're looking for patterns, trying to optimize your response. The Scourge used that predictability against you. What would you suggest, Captain? Xerix asked. Randomized, asymmetric attacks. Hit and run tactics. Target unexpected systems. Elena looked at her crew, who nodded in agreement. Let us coordinate your defense forces. The edict, one counselor began, will mean nothing if the Scourge spread, Xerix interrupted. I am invoking emergency protocols. As High Counselor, I temporarily suspend the human containment edict. Within hours, Elena and her crew were aboard the Council's fastest vessel, racing toward the Arcturan colony with a hastily assembled defense fleet. Using the ship's communication array, they coordinated with the surviving colonial forces. Forget standard formations, Elena instructed the alien commanders. Break into small, autonomous units. Don't establish patterns. When the Scourge adapt to one approach, switch to another. The battle that followed was chaos by traditional galactic military standards, and far more effective for it. Under human direction, the defenders launched simultaneous attacks from multiple vectors, some serving as diversions while others targeted previously unexploited weaknesses in Scourge biology. Elena, commanding from the bridge of the Council vessel, felt strangely at home. The tactical decisions came naturally, as if some ancestral memory guided her instincts. They're adapting. Commander Jackson warned as one of their attack squadrons was decimated. Then we adapt faster, Elena replied. Lieutenant Park, what about the colony's atmospheric processors? Park grinned, already seeing her plan. If we overload them while the Scourge ground forces are concentrated in the central district, the sudden pressure change could rupture their bioarmor. Dr. Chen finished. They evolved for vacuum and low-pressure environments. Exactly. Rodriguez, can you reconfigure the colonial defense grid to create a feedback loop in the processors? The engineer was already working. Better than that, Captain. I can use their own communications frequency to trigger the overload. They'll essentially attack themselves. The plan worked. As the Scourge ground forces collapsed, their hive ships moved to extract survivors, precisely as Elena had predicted. All vessels, concentrate fire on the extraction points, she ordered. Don't target their main systems. Hit the seemingly non-critical structures near their landing base. The Council ships followed her instructions, striking at areas their tactical computers had deemed non-essential. The unexpected assault critically damaged the Scourge vessel's biological components, triggering a cascading failure that their self-repair systems couldn't contain. Within 6 hours, the battle was over. The Scourge retreated, leaving one hive ship drifting and crippled in Arcturan orbit. In the aftermath, Elena stood with Xerix and Krell, watching the colony's reconstruction efforts begin. The cost had been high. Thousands of colonists dead, infrastructure in ruins, but extinction had been averted. Your tactics were unorthodox, Krell admitted. No Council strategist would have targeted atmospheric processors or sacrificed ships as diversions. Sometimes the mathematically optimal solution isn't the right one, Elena replied. Humans understand that victory sometimes requires sacrifice and improvisation, which is precisely why the ancient Council feared you, Xerix said. But today, that same unpredictability saved countless lives. 3 days later, Elena and her crew stood before the reassembled Galactic Council. The mood was solemn, but no longer hostile. Captain Elena Reyes of Earth, Xerix announced formally, this council has reviewed your actions and reached a decision regarding humanity's status within galactic society. Elena stood tall, her crew at her side. The human containment edict was created in fear, justified fear, but fear nonetheless. Today, we acknowledge that the galaxy has changed. The Scourge have returned. The Vedic Imperium has betrayed ancient alliances. In such times, old enemies must become new allies. Murmurs spread through the chamber as Xerix continued. By unanimous decision, the human containment edict is hereby modified. Earth will be welcomed into the Galactic Council, with appropriate technological and cultural exchange to follow. However, his tone grew serious. Humanity's unique combat abilities remain both valuable and dangerous. Therefore, we propose a compromise. Elena raised an eyebrow. What kind of compromise? Human military forces will be permitted, but only under joint council oversight. Your ships, your soldiers, but with observers to ensure that humanity's formidable talents are directed toward defense, not conquest. Elena considered this. Earth's governments will need to be slowly introduced to all this. The revelation that humans once fought across the galaxy will be difficult to process. Of course, the transition will be gradual. Xerix's skin shifted to a hopeful blue-green. But it must begin now. The Scourge attack on Arcturus was merely the first wave. Ancient enemies are stirring throughout the dark spaces between galaxies. General Krell stepped forward. There is an old saying in our histories. The galaxy feared humans in war for a reason, because without them, there would be no galaxy left to fear anything. Elena looked at her crew, then back at the assembled council. We came into space as explorers, not warriors. But if defending Earth and its new allies requires us to remember what we once were, she straightened her uniform. Then the galaxy is about to remember why humans were banned from the battlefield. The council chamber filled with a sound Elena couldn't identify at first. Then she realized it was applause, in dozens of different forms from the various species, not celebrating war, but acknowledging the simple truth. Sometimes peace required those who understood war all too well. As they left the chamber, Engineer Rodriguez nudged her. So, still a routine survey mission, Captain. Elena smiled ruefully. I think our mission parameters have been slightly adjusted, Engineer. Just slightly, Commander Jackson agreed. From mapping stars to saving the galaxy. One step at a time, Elena cautioned. First, we need to get the Pathfinder home and explain to Earth's governments why we're suddenly receiving alien ambassadors. Dr. Chen laughed. I can see the headlines now. Humans, too good at war to be allowed to fight. Until now, Lieutenant Park added. Elena gazed out at the stars as they walked toward their ship. Somewhere out there, ancient enemies were gathering. Humanity had been forbidden from war for a reason, and soon, the entire galaxy would remember why.